This time, let's work on adding and subtracting polynomials. Poly means many terms, and each term is separated by a plus or minus sign. So this is a 1, 2, 3 term polynomial, which would be a trinomial. We also have things called binomials, but we'll work on those in another lesson. We're going to add polynomials, and because these are all x squared plus an x term plus a constant, we can just add them straight down. When you add them, it's the same thing as combining like terms. 14 plus 7, 21x squared. I strongly recommend that you use the calculator to double check your work, but for now, we're going to just add them going down. 5 and 2 is 7x. Does that become x squared? No. When you add them, it's 5 of these plus 2 of these is 7 of these. So then when does it become x squared? If I'm multiplying, that squared, if I have an x times x, that becomes x squared, because that 2 means the x is being multiplied twice. If I have x squared times x to the third, then you're multiplying and you're doing something different. That's the only time that you change the exponents, is when you're multiplying or dividing. When you add or subtract, you keep the exponents the same. Here, the exponent is just 1. So 14 of these plus 7 of these is 21 of these. Hope that makes sense. 4 minus 8. When you have two different signs, when you're adding and subtracting, you can think of, if it's a positive number, that's cash in my pocket. That's a positive thing. And the negative number is how much I owe. So if I owe $8 and I only have 4, I'm still going to owe $4 more, right? So the O is the negative. Another way of thinking about it is, if you have two different signs, subtract 8 minus 4 is 4, and you keep the sign of the higher number. I know negative 8 is not higher than 4, but the higher term number, 8. So 4 minus 8 is negative 4. 12 plus 28, 8 and 2 is 10. So that's 40x squared. Here's one that a lot of people have trouble with. They think they can go ahead and just cancel those out. But if you put a 1 there, negative 1 and negative 1 is negative 2. I owe $1, I owe another $1, then I owe 2. And when you put it in the calculator, you would do negative 1 minus 1, not minus negative 1. That's where I've seen a lot of students. If you had negative 5 minus 2, if you have this, if they did 5 minus 2, they would know to just put 5 minus 2 in the calculator. But for some reason, when they're both negative, I've seen people mistakenly do negative 5 minus another negative, minus negative 2. That's not correct. Just do negative 5 minus 2. And if I owe 5 and I owe 2, I should owe 7. So negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. That was just my example. So when you put this in the calculator, it's just negative 1 minus 1. The negative comes from the first term only. You don't do negative 1, negative 1, just negative 1 minus 1. If I were to do negative 1, negative 1, it's going to give me an error. And if I clear it, that's because that little negative sign should be a minus sign, but you start off with a negative. What would happen if I, in the calculator, start off with a negative? Notice my answer is negative 2. If I say minus, it's taking the previous answer. I don't want that. So start off on the calculator with a negative sign. Here we have negative 6 minus 2. Negative 8. You can pause now and see if you can finish the other two by yourself. And then when you're done, press play and see if you got them right. If you've already paused, And don't just say, well, no, I'm just going to listen. You won't have the benefit of the confidence of doing it on your own or learning what you might have made a mistake on. So it's better to pause, do the last two, and then come back. So -5 plus 16. -5 plus 16 is positive 11. Notice you subtract them and you keep the number, the sign of the higher number. So 11x squared, 18 minus 14 is positive 4x. -7 plus 16 is positive 9. -3 minus 6. These two negatives do not become positive. Two negatives only become positive when you're multiplying or dividing. I owe 3 and I owe 6, so I owe 9. Just put -3 minus 6 in the calculator. 2, what is this? Minus 1 is 1x. You don't have to put the 1, you can just put plus x. And -5 plus 8 is the same thing as 8 take away 5. So these are adding, and they were put down like that. Sometimes you see them adding all the way across, but I want to show you what to do if you have subtracting polynomials. Usually they're set up like this. Why are they in parentheses? Because you're taking away all of this. So that means that negative sign needs to be distributed to each term only in this parentheses, not up here. It's basically like a -1 times everything. And -1 just changes the sign of everything. So we're really just going to distribute that negative. Bring down the 19x squared plus 15x plus 4. And that changes this positive 7x squared to a -7x squared. Negative times positive is negative. Basically, I'm just changing the signs in here, but I'm explaining why. -1 times negative would be positive 8. So these signs should have all been changed. That positive went negative, now it's negative, and now it's positive. So double check your work that you distributed that negative to everything. I'm not going to put a 1 in front of them now. I want to make sure that you know how to just distribute it on your own without having the 1 to multiply. -5x squared plus 18x minus 7. We don't need the parentheses. There's nothing to do inside. But here we have to distribute. -16x squared. Negative times negative is positive 14x. Negative times positive is -16. Did I change all the signs from inside? That was positive. Now that's negative. I first wanted to show you how to distribute that negative. Now we will go ahead and combine the like terms in here. I like to circle the x squareds, and notice I'm going to include the sign that's in front of it, whether it's positive or negative. There's no sign in the beginning, of course. So 19 minus 7 is 12x squared. I'm going to underline squiggly, because that's fun. 15x minus 2x would be positive 13x. And the last one's 4 plus 8 is 12. That should be your answer. Now I like to circle, again, include the negative. What would happen if I went like this? Sometimes that could be thought of as a positive sign, but it was negative. Remember, we distributed the negative. So I want to warn you, include the sign and make sure that you don't turn a negative into positive accidentally. -5 and -16. I'm going to show you again how to put that in. -5 minus 16. Some people say -5 plus -16. That's okay too. If you have -5 and -16, just don't do a double negative. If you can just get used to the -5 minus 16 is -21x squared. 18 plus 14 is 32, positive 32x. -7 minus 16, -23. For these next two, I'd like you to pause the video and work on them on your own. Remember to distribute, and if you like, to put the one in front and distribute it like this, and make sure that you've changed all the signs, then do that. Otherwise, just know that you're changing all the signs and look up here and change it to negative, positive, positive. I hope you're pausing the videos and doing it on your own so you can get confident. Confidence is really key to being able to learn more, and then your brain grows each time you work on things on your own. And then you can double check your work by having someone show you how to do it. And if you made a tiny mistake, forgot to distribute the negative to the last term, which is the most common, then you can correct it and know that when you learn from your own mistakes, you can self-correct later on. So we're going to bring this down. We don't draw the circles until we've already distributed the negative. So it's going to be negative, positive, positive, right? Negative 27x squared, positive x, positive 4. That's what this negative does, changes all the signs inside the next parentheses. 6 minus 27, negative 21x squared. Now what happens with this? Negative 1 plus 1. If you put that in the calculator, you get 0. So do I bring down an x? No, they cancel out. If I put down an x, then that means 1x, not 0 x's. And there's no need to put plus 0. So I'll just draw a line through them to cancel them out. Only if they have a positive and a negative sign when they're adding or subtracting do they combine to get canceled out. And cancel out when you're adding, subtracting means because you got a 0. If you say cancel when you're dividing, that's because you got a 1. Okay, so negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. So we do not have any plain x terms in this. It was kind of tricky for you to do that one on your own, but that's okay. I know you can handle it. Distribute this. Now we have negative 2x squared and negative 2x squared. Do these cancel out? No, they don't. You'd have to have one positive and one negative to cancel out. If I gave you 2 cookies, but then I took the 2 cookies back before you had a chance to eat them, that would be torturous, and I wouldn't do that. Know that. But you would have 0 cookies. So if it's positive and negative, they cancel each other out. But I owe $2 and I owe $2 more means I owe $4. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. Negative 5x plus 7x. You subtract them, 7 minus 5 is 2, and we keep the sign of the higher number. So it's plus 2x. Negative 3 and negative 9. I owe $9 and I owe $3 more, so I owe $12. I hope you got those correct. And if there's questions, you can always try to email me, and hopefully these make sense. Thanks for now.